Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
But a lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back. You know, I love.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome in, Jordy Culotta Show. Live here on this Thursday. Good to be back. Shout out to the crew for holding it down. Nice work here on Championship Wednesday this week, crew. Chris Blair, text Blair, make sure he's set to go.
Up and at him.
After a crazy week, a crazy time for Blair, being in Omaha, obviously, for the 10 days, watching LSU take the national championship. If you were there last night at the victory parade and the celebration inside the box, it was fantastic. It played well on television. It looked hot.
Oh, my God.
It looked like a sauna out there.
Oh, all of Omaha is now at Alex Box. Everybody that went there just sweated it all out.
Oh, my God. No showers.
same clothes?
No, I showered. I had to. We went home to shower.
Man, like you can't step outside.
Well, there was like an air quality advisory.
Oh, the air
like a
was
heat
thick.
advisory,
Why
yeah.
is it so thick?
I don't know.
Like 5 people have died in Texas from doing things outside. Like it's weird.
I stay in the house during
Meanwhile,
the
our
day.
kids are just at school running for 2 hours every day and doing track practice.
Working
Good for
out.
it's good for him.
Yeah, it's
Stop,
good.
you sound
it's
like
good.
David. He's like, in my day, they didn't even give us water. We were just throwing up on the side. I'm like, okay, it's
Oh
not your
yeah,
day
we used to not be able to
anymore.
put our hands on our knees.
We're
We'd be like,
trying not to
ain't no
kill
air
our
down there.
kids.
when in reality, the air is down
Yeah.
there. He rises, coach.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna lay down.
Let's not kill our kids.
Yeah.
Can't we?
I know, right? Yeah. I'm gonna do that, not the coaches.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's not on accident. You don't want to kill them purposely.
Yeah, right in
We
front of
don't want
our.
hot air
That's right.
later.
Growing up, over
Growing
at the
up.
Good house for sure.
Whole lot of hot air in that house.
A lot of hot air.
Remember to hit that like button, that share button, that comment button. As daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. RMB-Builders.com is where you find them online. You can also find RMB on Instagram at RMB Builders, so check them out there. Our phone lines daily brought to you by Southern Regional Medical Center. Check out Southern Regional Medical Center, Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan and the entire crew. Formerly Metropolitan Health Group, same great people, same great services. Southern Regional Medical Center bringing you our phone line each and every day. And LSU celebrating their 7th national championship yesterday inside of Alec Box Stadium. It was a great scene. It was a who's who of the university. It was a who's who of the state. Not the demographic, not the P1s for Sharon Weston Broom and John Bell Edwards.
Oh my goodness.
For sure.
What
As those
happened?
two
I mean,
stepped up to the podium,
as
and
soon
it
as
sounded
they-
like they had ran out of booze or they were just booing the hell out of them.
Are you serious?
It's like-
Oh, bro, it was
Sharon
gosh.
Weston,
uncomfortable
she
when
tried to-
John Bell Edwards
Yeah.
got up there, and then it was worse when Sharon Weston Broom. But Broom is experienced on getting booed, you can tell,
Well, yeah,
because
she
as
is.
soon as she grabbed the microphone, she got into an LSU chant,
Yes.
and she was screaming so loud into the microphone, trying to drown out the boos by just screaming, LSU! I mean, it was like hovering into the mic. Like, people were like, golly, boo, boo, shut her up, for God's sake. And then it kind of like, people were like, I guess we need to chant LSU.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we got to do this.
If you want any, LSU fans are like, it's like Pavlov's theory. If you ring the bell,
Right.
they will look for a treat. If you do LSU chants, I'm the
Right,
same way.
right.
Like in Omaha, you would just hear LSU or go Tigers. And
Yeah.
it's just, if you do that, that is the trick that will get LSU every time.
But
But
LSU baseball fans are not the crowd for Sharon and John
Well,
Bell.
no.
That is the
No.
opposite of who
No,
they
no,
want to
no.
be speaking in front of.
A lot of Trumpers in the crowd.
Oh my
last
God, that's what I
night.
mean. That's the
Like,
majority of
I mean,
those fans.
oh, absolutely.
we were in the, standing in front of a fan, obviously, like a literal fan,
Fan?
like blowing wind. And me and Jay Mitch and Mikey were all like kind of talking, and we just hear that, like the boos, and we're like, what is going on? We're like, oh, this isn't going to go
What happens
great.
when you mix politics and sports?
It's like, okay, so it's like we had no idea what was going on. Then you hear the booming LSU, and it was boo LSU. I was like, what is going on
That
out
was
there?
a bad decision to bring them.
I think they have to go.
I think they kind of like
They have
inserted
to.
themselves. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, I mean, there's a lot of people. People are in a
Yeah.
good mood. Let's go talk to them. And like, yeah, well, everybody hates y'all.
Yeah, no matter what.
This is not a
I
good
mean, like,
idea.
people actually despise y'all in this
Oh
crowd.
my
So I don't know if they even
gosh.
want to. And then they're like, well, let us speak. Like,
Yeah.
you
Read
sure?
the room.
You sure?
It's like Goodell at the
But I
NFL
guess both of
draft.
them are on their second term. You know, they're
Yeah.
like, hate me.
Right,
You
exactly.
know what I
You
mean?
can't
I
do
already
anything
stole
about
all
it.
your money.
Yeah, when John Bell walked up there, Ron was like, yeah, they're about to boo him.
You can see. I mean, you can see the team, like the people that like didn't know like the politics of it. People were like,
Hey.
That was me. I had no clue who they were, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Like, I was like, I had no clue what was going on.
You know,
Yeah. Should we boo? I'll boo.
mayor.
Did you join in on the booing?
I didn't know what was going
guy
on.
with the glasses and the
Well, you better
hat.
not cheer for him out
I
there.
just I hit the LSU.
You'll get booed.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I feel like everybody up here should be getting cheered for. And then I thought it was Cooper, like Riley Cooper was going to come up, like Coop.
Right.
And then I was like, no, it's a coup.
They were on him, brother. They were on him, man.
Oh man, that was-
But a great celebration last night. Shout out to number 7, the Tigers. They unveil a new Intimidator that'll be up until the 2024 season, which came out fantastic after LSU wins their latest national championship as the Tigers close the season. And I know we talked a little bit about it earlier this week, but still, the further you get away from the accomplishment on Monday night, the further that you get away from what they accomplished throughout the season, it is incredibly, getting the respect grows so much for what they accomplished. Pretty much going wire to wire as the best team in the country throughout the season. I know that they were, number 2 in the country for about 7 weeks, but to even stay within that top 2, right, is almost as if you're the number 1 team in college baseball. I mean, it's a spot in that top 3, top 4, top 5 every year that seems like it's so fluid. It's always moving around, and for LSU to be in that spot, either 1 or 2, from the day that they reported throughout SEC competition in through the postseason and on to Omaha, really is, as we've talked about this championship run, is it's clear that it's got to be one of the best of all time, especially in the modern era of the series championship. LSU won the first 2 out of 3 series in the national championship. Wasn't the LSU Texas series the first 3-game series?
Was it that late?
It used to be just a one
game
game
right, one game
right?
set.
And I want to say that if it was not LSU Texas, it was right there. I mean, LSU won it in 2000 in a 1-game scenario versus Stanford. So I mean, you just look 9 years prior to that, they were still playing within that format. So.
If you want to play
as the time goes to a championship series and having to win 2 of 3 to capture the title, I think you have to look at this LSU run and what they accomplished by defeating the other team who was number 1 in a 3-game set, ultimately like they did against Wake Forest. Playing a Tennessee team that was hot as anybody in the country going into Omaha and beating them handily twice. And then, what they did against Florida, right? I mean, the way that they were able to kind of navigate that series in an instant classic game on Saturday in game 1, being run out of the joint in game 2 on Sunday, and then coming back and, bludgeoning Florida to win the title. It was just an incredible title performance run. I was at dinner last night, and I stopped and saw a couple who was at a table who I'd known, and they were like, we don't know what to do without baseball. They're like, I mean, like we weren't even that big of fans, but we just kind of like, we were looking forward to just, great games every single night and watching LSU play. So, it was a magical season. It was a magical time. I know that, it got to a head last night for everybody to take part and be there, and it was a great scene, man. It was a great scene to see all of that come together and LSU be able to celebrate that moment, and for everybody that played such a big part in it, like Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens, to be in the box last night. Their life ultimately is going to change here significantly in the next couple of weeks. To have them a part of that and have them in the room and on the field, I thought was it was just magical, man. Paul Maneri was there, Skip Burtman was there, Scott Woodward was there. I mean, it was a who's who of the LSU power structure, coaches. Fitzpatrick Pitts asking where Wish Johnson was.
He was there.
Oh, he was there?
Yeah, they announced him.
Yeah, but he didn't walk through.
No, they announced his name. I don't know if he walked through.
He's in Athens. I mean,
yeah.
He wasn't physically there.
No, I mean, I don't think that he came to Baton Rouge after Omaha.
Oh.
He probably had to go straight to Georgia. That makes sense. I just heard
You
him.
have to think, like right now, college baseball has had a 2-week lead on recruiting on the teams that have been in Omaha, right? And if you're the team that plays until the last game, well, you're getting the latest start on recruiting now. You should be able to catch up quick because your pitch in the living room is, sorry I couldn't be here. We were winning the national championship. And we just lost our ace, and we just lost our center fielder, and we just lost the nucleus of the squad, and we're looking to replace that with you. So are you in or are you out, right? I mean, would you like to be Paul Skeens in Baton Rouge? Would you like to be Dylan Cruz in Baton Rouge? You want to go hang out with Tommy Tanks next year? I mean, like, life is good for people down here in Baton Rouge. So, you know, I mean, I saw yesterday where TCU and Vanderbilt were kind of leading in the Chase Burns sweepstakes. Well, you know, I also saw a video clip last night where somebody was dropping a baseball off the top bleacher to Jay Johnson as he was standing down there. And as they dropped it, they were saying, "What about Chase Burns?" And Jay Johnson looks up and goes, "I'm going to enjoy this for an hour, but I'm going to be on the phone with him tonight." Like, so the ground is being made up where LSU is going to replace these stars with stars. I mean, that's what I fully expect to happen because of, you know, where LSU is. If you're Georgia, if you're Wes Johnson, like, you don't have anything to sell and you're behind 2 weeks. So as LSU's winning games, Wes Johnson probably inside is thinking, damn, like, I mean, I hope we can close this thing out, but I think I need to get home too. You know what I mean? Like, that was a hell of a schedule that he was probably having. He's putting a staff together. He's recruiting. He's in the transfer portal. All the while, he's managing LSU's pitching staff on a championship run. So
does he have a family?
I'm sure.
Like a wife or kids?
He does have a wife.
Okay.
I know he has a wife. I don't know if he has.
Jeez. I guess she hadn't seen him in a while.
Right. You know.
No, she might be getting the house ready in
Well,
Georgia.
that's what she's doing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Athens.
She's
Like,
probably
gotta
been doing
contacting movers.
You know what
Right.
I mean, like moving the house
Wow,
and
what
making
a
sure he
life.
can just drive up the driveway, throw on the Georgia, you know, pullover and start recruiting. I mean, that's ultimately what his life has been like. And for Jay Johnson, it has been. I mean, you could see he was stressing that. Like, I mean, he was recruiting within games. I mean, even as LSU's in like these one run, like these you know, nail biting games, he's getting these in-game interviews and he's like, well, if you're in the transfer portal, you see Thatcher Hurd and Tommy Tanks and Paul Skeens being the best players out here, you better be paying. I mean, like, he was even thinking during the game, like, I need to be recruiting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, we gotta replace these guys.
Is there a chance anybody on the LSU team would go in the transfer portal and follow him to Georgia? Do you think?
Sure. That I would think of guys that don't necessarily see themselves as having an opportunity next year to perform. I mean, like, if you're a top 18, 19 guy at LSU, I mean, you're the defending national champs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're 20 through 35 and, you know, you may think,
Some of the guys that
I
threw
wanna
on
play.
some of the guys that threw in the second game,
Yeah,
like a
like
Christian
Yeah.
Little.
absolutely, you know, there's probably some guys on the roster that, I mean, there were some guys that got introduced definitely yesterday that I was like, who's that? You know, I mean, and
They still all got the cheers.
not
They
saying
could have announced.
not saying that they won't be a player, but it's
Right.
like, I mean, there's going to be some odd people out. You know, I mean, that's what happens that's what happens with Kim Mulkey. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, these are the conversations that Mulkey had after winning the title when everybody in the country's blowing her phone up saying, I want in. You know, you kind of look around the room and you're like, well, I mean, if I'm going to replace X with an All-American, that's a hard conversation. You know, I mean, because this player has been putting the time in and going through all that we've asked them to do, and, you know, at the end of it, it's just genetics. I mean, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
like, really, I mean, it's things that you may not be able
There's
to.
only so many pieces to the puzzle.
Right. I mean, there's only a couple of Nisa Moros in the country. You know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
if she's knocking on your door saying, I want in, you got to say, like, I mean, you know, we're trying to build a basketball program. I mean, the same thing that's happening with the baseball pro. These are good issues, but they're issues. You know, so
That's the most impressive part about what he did, what Jay did with the 2023 team. Is, I mean, that was a big talking point going into the year, was how he's going to make all of these pieces fit when he had to get rid of people that were on the team and get rid of, had to have a conversation to be like, look, I'm bringing Paul Skeens in. You know, you have to make room, and then it becomes, is it transfer portal versus scholarship guys that have been on the team for 3 years? Or are they going to be, to blend all of that talent together and make it seem like literally kumbaya, it was one big happy family? And that's a testament to being able to make all those pieces fit together. You have to coach that up. You can't just roll the ball out and be like, hey, it's like, look at the Heat whenever they first started with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. Like, it didn't work the first year. And to be able for Eric Spoelstra to get, he just needed 1 year to be able to make it all fit. Jay Johnson did that in a truncated 8-month season where they're all. I mean, you have Paul Skeens carrying Milazzo onto the field, and they shouldn't even know each other. And that's a testament to being able to coach talent, bring in talent, and then make them all have chemistry together. That's the hardest part. And so the way he did it this year, I would imagine that if you get the buy-in that he did, now he has a national championship ring to throw on the table. The formula works. It's just a matter of getting the buy-in, and him being able to get the buy-in from all of the transfer portal guys is a huge testament to him and the LSU brand in the program.
Yeah, no, I think as hard as it is to put a winner on the field every single day in college baseball, and that's hard to do, right? I mean, you got to make sure you got good players and players that are coached up and developing. I would say it's even harder to put a room full of people that don't necessarily know one another, that are, for the most part, you're dealing with a lot of alpha males. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of alpha personalities. I mean, a lot of these people, though, last night we may not have heard of some of these guys. Wherever they came from, they were the man on their high school team. They were probably the dude on their junior college team. I mean, Lloyd told me last week that Garrett Edwards averaged 38 points in high school in basketball. I mean, like,
had D1 offers.
I mean, this guy is like, he's big time athlete. I mean, you could see even last night him still battling the mental part of, that's probably the first time in his life he's ever, sat on the sideline and watched successful sports happen that he was a part of, that they didn't need him. Right? I mean, think about the last time Garrett Edwards was on a team that won, that didn't necessarily need. I mean, LSU needed him. They could have used him, but at the end of the day, they won the championship without him. Right? I mean, for the athlete, that is humbling. That is mentally taxing. That is, you're dealing with injury. You're going through rehab. I mean, there's just those types of players that you have that, are going through things for the first time in their life at 19 and 20. I mean, that's a part of it that we may not necessarily think of, talk about. But if you're the head coach and you're trying to put together the best 35, because, you've got a limit, you can only have 35 guys. So you got to make sure that you're making the best decision when it comes down to the last 2, 3, 4 roster spots. Right? There's probably 30 spots that you absolutely know, like, boom.
Tilton Cruz is on this team.
Right.
And when you talk about Garrett Edwards, we obviously, when we went and did like the dad interview in Omaha, and we had all of, like, on Father's Day, we had all of the fathers, and they mentioned Garrett's dad, Jamie, as he was like the catalyst, the glue of keeping everybody together, because they were all, like, they saw the role that his son was playing, and after he gets hurt, they were like, oh, you don't have to be here. He's like, no, I'm going to every game. We're all going to every game. Like, I'm in it with y'all for the whole ride. And they were like, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if we'd be all sticking it out like this, but he managed to put everybody together in the same boat, and they were like, well, now we're playing for you. And it felt like the team kind of did the same thing with Garrett, because he was going to be a player on the team, and he was an arm that they were going to have to use. If LSU doesn't win it, you can look back to this is why. But for the pitching staff to come together the way that they did, and without the arms that they needed, is a testament to, once again, Wes Johnson is going to be a loss, because you saw how everything came together kind of at the right time at the end of the year. He put together a professional pitching program, is what it felt like. They weren't concerned about what was going on in the SEC tournament. They weren't concerned about losing midweek games. They weren't concerned about dropping 2 of 3 at some point. They were getting guys like Griffin Herring ready. You always have Riley Cooper. They were getting these other arms. Thatcher Hurd, let him work through it. All of these things that Ty Floyd, let him go again. It was all of these things preparing for Omaha, and you saw the way that it all came together at the end, where what was the thing that you were the most confident in at the end of the year? Pitching. What was the biggest question mark going into the year?
No doubt.
Throughout the entire year.
Throughout the whole year.
Yeah. And so for guys like, when you lose a Garrett Edwards, and then for him to be like, the whole attitude throughout the entire year was keep it moving. They never had a down time. And I think that's a testament to what they believe in Jay and what they believe in the LSU baseball program. If you have guys like that, you just keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, that is building a program. That's building a program where you set a standard of what it takes to play inside there, and then it gets to a point where, I mean, it learns itself. You know, like, I mean, you bring a freshman class, you bring a transfer portal class, you bring a new guy, you bring a new coach into a program, and within 48 hours of just being in the building and being a part of the action every day, you're like, okay, I get it. This is how they do work. You know, this is what it feels like to be a part of the LSU baseball program. You know, I mean, I think that's what all high-level, whether it's corporate organizations, whether it's small businesses, whether it's big-time football programs or big-time sports programs, they have, you know when you're in it. Like, you know when you walk in the door in a business or someone is for real, right? I think that's what LSU has reestablished within the baseball world, is that they're the king of the mountain. They're the top of the class.
I almost hate to bring this up because I feel like I'm walking into some angry comments, but have y'all thought yet about last year's national champion and the one before that and what they both looked like this year?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think that's a possibility for the LSU baseball team, but, you know.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens
right?
quickly. Yes, but in the age of the transfer portal and how LSU is not only attacked it in baseball, but in every sport, it feels like LSU has become the transfer portal brand.
It does.
Every post-game press conference, I thought Jay Johnson delivered his formula of what he believes good baseball programs to have. He says it was routine nearly after every game. You have to have big leaguers. It's evident. You know, I mean, you look around the Omaha field, there was big leaguers everywhere. Not just at LSU. LSU's got the best of the big leaguers, but there were big leaguers everywhere. You have to have a collection of older guys like Beloso, Dugas, Jordan Thompson, who know how to do it, is what he said. That's how he described it. Knows what it looks like. Knows how it has to be
What winning
done,
is.
right? Knows what it feels like. And then you've got to have a spirit and a motivation to you that is, you know, built throughout the entire year. And
that's the hard part to replicate, is once you win it, it's hard to go back-to-back. It's the hardest thing to do in sports, right? It's to win back-to-back national championships or back-to-back Super Bowls. You rarely see it done. And so that's the coaching part of it, right? To be able to motivate these guys again.
yes, no, I agree. I mean, that's the difficult part about it.
But, I mean, they talked about this with Jay yesterday, where they were telling the story of when the year started, like, what do y'all want to do? He literally asked the room, like, what do y'all want to do? And nobody really, everything was like, what is he asking? Like, obviously, like, we know the answer. And Dylan Cruz stood up and was like, we want to win a national championship. Like, do you?
Right.
Do you want to win a national championship?
It's a great
And
story.
he was like, this is, if you want to, I know what it takes to be able to get there. It's up to y'all to win it. And then he had a pamphlet already printed out, like a booklet of what to do to be able to get to a national championship, where he highlighted different things that could happen throughout the year. And if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And they literally went through the booklet, and after they lost game 2, they were like, it's in the booklet. Go look at it.
Cool.
That's incredible to be
really
that
is.
prepared and to have a team that ready. It's like, it's already written.
That's wild.
Just follow the script.
I mean, I'm telling you, I have never in my life seen a coach more obsessed and connected to his program and team like Jay Johnson is. And that is no disrespect. I mean, I've seen some great ones. Kim Mulkey knows everything that goes in and out of her program. There's nothing getting into that program that she's not going to know the details about. Will Wade was like that. Nick Saban was like that. I mean, there have been obsessive people. John Brady, it cost him his job. Really. I mean, he will tell you today, if there was one thing that he could change going back, it would be just being able to let it go. He couldn't let it go. I mean, I remember we were sitting in a restaurant after a game. I still remember the game. It was Northern Iowa. Came to LSU in 2006 and beat LSU like on a Tuesday night. And Northern Iowa ended up being, I think they were.
That's the year they made the run.
They made a run, bro. Like
They hit a buzzer
I think
beater.
either an Elite Eight or like they made a deep run. They were a good team. I remember this because it was Tack Miner's first game back that night. And Tack and I were living together, and we went to the game, and they ended up getting beat. And Coach Brady and I went to dinner after the game, and not just us two, but it was a part of a a group that went to dinner after the game, and I remember some like 12-year-old, like 13-year-old kid like walked up to the table and asked for his autograph, and he kind of like barked at him, kind of like, not right now, you know what I mean? And everybody was like, John, bro, like you got to turn it off, like you can't
coach everybody.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, like like it's bigger than that, and it's just he couldn't leave it at the facility. I mean, I get it, you know what I mean? It's like
you loved it too much.
It's just obsessed.
Yeah.
It's obsessed. I mean, like looking back on it, he should have been in public. Like he knows himself. Like but it was a room that was closed off. I mean, you did the right stuff. Somebody just snuck in and got him. You know what I mean? It was like, but it's just like it was a great. I remember thinking in that moment, like, man, the stresses of coaching. Like there it is. Yeah. Like, look at it. Like, you can't leave that stuff at home, especially on a night like tonight when you lose a game where you think going in, you're better. You should win. You're prepared. You've been practicing. You know what I mean? You got beat on stuff that you told them was going to happen. I mean, it was the ups and downs of that world. I mean, unless you know a coach firsthand, you really don't know. I mean, like, he don't care as much as we do. The hell they don't. Man. like I mean, like it's their world. I mean, for somebody like Jay Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I couldn't imagine if he'd have lost that game by a run again. I mean, like, if he'd have lost the national championship, if he'd have gone to that game, and the way that he talks about 2016, it is so fresh in his head. I mean, like, he's like, we got a runner standing right there. We got a runner standing right there. I mean, he could paint you this. It's sitting right on the front of his mind. I mean, I think it's all perspective. I think he handles it, but I mean, you would see it weighing on him if he was to.
Absolutely.
And even now that he has one, I still believe if he's going, and that's what made Skip great to me, was that as Skip won more, he still hated to lose more than he loved to win.
He wanted to talk about the losses more than he wanted to talk about.
I mean, that's all he remembers.
That's exactly the point. That's the point.
That's what he'll go to.
And he'll go to it. He was like, it was my fault.
Right.
Like, he literally blames
Can't
him.
believe we didn't win that game on that Sunday.
And he's like, it's on me.
Holy shit.
It's
But
like,
you did win. You won 5. Should have won 7. It's like
shouldn't have done. And then he remembers every little move that he made whenever they lost a game, and doesn't want to tell, like, the wins. He's like, oh, the wins are the wins, and it's the wins when he lost. He's like, I should have moved him here. I could have done this. It's like, it's an obsessive ability to think about, like, that's what motivates him. That's the driving force. And like you said, I don't think Jay will ever forget those losses. But if he would have had, I don't even want to put his brain in a place where if they had lost again, if he had lost, like, got to the mountaintop and fallen off, I don't even know where he would be. Like, how do you try harder? He couldn't have done anything more than what he did to get LSU there and win a national championship. I don't know how you get out of bed after that, but instead it goes the other way, where I'm sure, like you said, he thinks about it every single day.
Oh,
he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm over it.
It's not
but
every day. It's probably like the majority of it.
It's probably like PTSD, where he just gets a flash. He's like, oh,
right,
get me out of that.
Yeah.
And now he has this memory to replace it, but that will always live in the back of his brain instead of the front of his brain now.
And he's probably not even thinking of, like, the bottom of the ninth, 2-1.
No, not that
he's
moment.
Probably thinking of, like, the third inning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why did I call this pitch?
First and third.
Like, I mean, that stuff will
haunt you,
eat you. I mean, like, just gobble you up. Right, and
that's the great ones.
Yeah, I mean, LSU has a campus right now that is filled with obsessive, psychotic coaches, and there's no coincidence that they're just reeling off national championships in different programs.
Because they don't feel the wins. Like, I'm sure Jay enjoyed that. Like, how could you not when you see the celebration last night? And it was so funny being with the 2009 guys. They're like, I mean, all we had was a podium on, they're like, they're getting fireworks walking in, smoke show. And I was like, well, that's because of y'all. If there's no 2009 team, there's no 2023 celebration like this. You updated Alex Boggs. Like, this is the reason it exists. And this is how the program keeps moving forward. But it was so funny seeing them, because they were telling stories about them having to give speeches and how it all, like, played out. Like, they were on the plane, and coach is like, Paul Maneri was like, woke up, they wanted somebody to represent each class, and obviously they're all, like, went booze town the night before, so Mikey's sleeping on the plane. He was telling the story yesterday, and he wakes him up, and he's like, what, where are we home? And he's like, do you mind giving a speech to the team? And he's like, wait, for what? He's like, when we get to, like, they did it the next day. Like, they did the bachelor party the night before the marriage. Right. And so they're all kind of still a little woobly. And so they get to Alex Box, and he told him on the plane, he's like, you're going to have to give a speech for to represent the freshman class. And he was like, well, now I can't go back to sleep. I've got to think about what I have to say. And did the same thing to Renato. But that team was kind of representative of the 2023 team where they were tight-knit. And there's a reason that they were all there last night and wanted to see this happen and come to fruition. And you even saw the 2017 team. They all went to Omaha because they played Florida, and they wanted to see it felt like a little bit of like a vendetta. Like, all right, we didn't get the job done. Let's see y'all get the job done.
I actually ran into Rafe Rhymes yesterday.
Really?
Crazy enough, Rafe Rhymes was walking into the same restaurant that I was walking. He was strolling his newborn baby, and he had his wife with him in tow, who's actually giving birth to their second child today.
Oh my
this
God.
morning.
Okay.
Like she had
that was her last meal.
It was her last meal, and she had, I guess it would be a scheduled C-section that was ready to go today, and they were walking in for last meal. Like both sides of the families were showing up, and
I'm sure she was real hungry.
They had the little baby, they had the baby, but
Stomach
hearing
hurts.
Rafe Rhymes talk about watching this run, right? I mean, I think Rafe's team will probably go down with 98 as the best team never to win it.
Yeah.
I mean, that team lost 9 games all season long.
Is that the team that went where they won 56?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and just kind of went into the freezer offensively at the wrong time. Rafe was hitting like 430. I mean, like he was hitting nearly 500.
Dylan Cruz couldn't catch him.
Exactly. But hearing like his perspective of watching this team and like what made them great, was another just point of view of someone who had seen and experienced such high level success. And what this run meant to them. It was just magic, man. I mean, you just couldn't get enough of it. And, how great it was watching the team play and how good of a team they were. And, asking him in comparison's sake. And, this team has so much respect from the LSU baseball fraternity. Some of the high-level guys, like I said, even, guys like Matuk and Jared Mitchell in the preseason that were showering them with love. To hear even guys like, Ben McDonald and Todd Walker and Eddie Furness and, some of the, Rafe Rhymes last night, some of the, faces of the Rushmore. Really? Ben McDonald and Todd Walker, Eddie Furness, who's got bigger names than them in this program? Well, now Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens are at the table. It's just... the further you get away from this 2023 national championship squad, I think the more it'll feel like a 2019 football natty. These got all these. The majority of these guys will be making plays day in, day out in the bigs.
Oh yeah, it's going to be exactly like that. Where you'll look up, and obviously baseball's a little different, where it takes a minute to be able to get there, because there's like a protocol almost where it feels like you have to go through the minor league system. So it's almost out of sight, out of mind. But it feels like these guys, at least those two, Skeens and Cruz, they're going to be up sooner rather than later. And it'll be like a Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type feel where that's LSU baseball.
I think the further you get away from Trey Morgan, the more people will be like, Trey
could be the Justin Jefferson of the group.
He is the best first baseman in program history, right? Eddie Furness played first base, but you had him at first base so he could be in the lineup.
Defensively, the best first baseman.
You had to have Trey Morgan play first base so he could defend first base.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think the play he made to cover that bunt is, if Ray Wright's 1, Trey Morgan's 1A as far as best defensive plays I've seen LSU that meant something. Obviously, Ray Wright robbing a home run in the national championship game, and the way he did it, jumping into the crowd and grabbing it, I think will always be something that you just can't erase from your mind. But I still see that Trey Morgan play so vividly. We watched the comparison of the Derek Jeter play, and it's so similar. Like Derek Jeter in the
ALCS
in a 90s ALCS, early 90s ALCS, cuts a cutoff throw off from right field, and as he's running I got to imagine that you've seen this if you're a sports fan. But if you haven't, just Derek Jeter, YouTube, Oakland A's, ALCS. But I mean, ultimately, he is running across the diamond, in that direction, and cuts the ball off and flips it back as he's running that way, full speed on a Major League Baseball field. For anybody, that looks easy. Oh, okay. Right. I mean, like, it's a near impossible play, but the bang, bang, bang of it, like how quick it happens, is very reminiscent of, Trey Morgan makes it very reminiscent of that play. I mean, the quickness of it, the reaction time to field the ball, to know how to flip it immediately, to put the flip and the pitch right on the money. I mean, like,
it's make it
a perfect play. And then even Milazzo, obviously, being able to receive that and make that tag, hold on to it, stay alert. I mean, it was just – it's a game – it's a season-saving play. I mean, that's got to be the first play on the highlight film, right?
Oh, it's either that or
Tommy Tanks' walk-off.
Or that. That's what we were kind of going through this yesterday with JD. With Jacques Doucet, we were going through like the moments because that was his first time covering LSU in Omaha, and that play came up, the Josh Pearson catch and left. If he doesn't make that play, LSU's out. Like you could, there's so many visceral moments.
Pearson play was huge,
unbelievable,
huge, and he made it look so easy.
Well, he's an athlete.
He is. He's one of those sneaky athletes. You know what I mean? You probably wouldn't if he walked up to the pickup basketball court. You'd probably be like.
I'll take him.
And then,
last.
Look up, the dude's got 12 in the first quarter.
And it can dunk. You're
right.
Like, oh, shit. But that's like, there's so many visceral moments you can point out throughout the Omaha run where you're like, this was huge. And it goes to show how close and how hard it is to win that thing. Because if you can highlight moments like you said, the Tommy Tanks, and then he does it again in game one against Florida where LSU was dead in the water, 2-1 in the eighth, and you're just watch the game going, there was no momentum for LSU. It was stale air in there for however many of that place holds. It was 98% LSU fans and not a whisper. Everybody was kind of looking around like, you really need to get game one. You got Ty Floyd with 17 strikeouts.
Right. Can't not lose.
Yeah, I mean, if we blow this, if you're on the dugout, like, it's hard to go into that locker room and look at Ty in the eye and go, good pitching. It's like, well, thanks for the help. And for him to just get LSU back on the board.
If they'd have lost it.
Coach. But that's what I'm saying. You don't think about really the Tommy White home run in the 8th because you get Beloso in the 11th. And then you don't think about Cooper coming in and shutting the door right after that. And so for LSU, like you could point to so many moments that highlight how hard it is to win a national championship, especially if you come through the losers bracket, which is why Wake Forest was celebrating that way. Like, it makes sense now. When you look at it to go 2-0 and you're like, okay, we're in the catbird seat. And LSU did it through the mud the way that they're supposed to. That's just the way the season went.
I mean, like, looking back on it, I love how they got it.
Absolutely. You don't want to do it like that every time.
No, you do not. But you shut the door on any argument that you're the best team in the country.
Played everybody.
I mean, not only did you play everybody, you beat them twice. I mean, you anybody to come out of that bracket and win the Natty is incredible. I think that you probably looked at that side of the bracket and thought, if you come out of that side of the bracket from a loser's bracket standpoint, there's no way you're going to be able to win the championship series.
You should be done.
Right. I mean, you should be dead. Right? I mean, like, if you don't have to beat LSU twice, you're going to have to beat Wake Forest twice. And, I mean, like, you got Tennessee, who's buzzing as one of the hottest teams in the country coming in.
And hates you.
Right. And would love to knock you off.
Imagine being Florida in that scenario. They're probably watching going, oh my God.
This is a dream.
No, but you keep seeing LSU cover. It's like.
Well, not only that, but like.
You feel great because they went undefeated. They won one-run games.
They're thinking like the Wake Forest Wednesday night game. You're like, this is unbelievable.
Let them throw each other. Like, either one we get is going to be great because you don't have Skeens and you won't have the Wake Forest's ace. But I'll just imagine there had to be a haunting feeling watching LSU get off the mat again, like somebody throwing the damn towel, and you just keep seeing LSU get back into the corner, get back up again, and then they win a one-run game when you had been winning one-run games all year, and they go into game 2, and they obviously bludgeon LSU, but then you go into game 3, you're like, there's no quitting this team. You'd have to imagine like it's coming at some point.
I think they got to a point, and it was midway last week where it was when they showed up to that press conference and they were so loose. I thought to myself, it's over. Mm-hmm. It's over. Like, when you get a team this good that has the talent, that they look at them, they believe it. They know it. Doesn't matter how many teams they got to play. And then when Jay Johnson told the story the day after they got beat by Wake, where it still gives me goosebumps right now thinking about it, but his motivational speech of, I didn't say anything, but I had it marked down on the whiteboard the day, like Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is who's pitching. This is what we have to do. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody raised their hand. Let's get on the field.
Good, let's get on the bus.
I mean, like, it's like, and that was the mentality. Like, that was like, it feels like they could still be playing.
Oh, they would love to still be playing.
Right? Like, I mean, like, it feels like they could still be having to figure out who's the best team in the country, and LSU would just keep showing up and winning. And it just, when you get a team to believe and buy in and get on the same page, I don't care how good the other side is, because the other side was really good. Florida was good. Wake Forest was good. Tennessee was good. I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. You could have rolled them out there. You could have put together a collection of an all-star team of Wake Forest and Florida for a best of a 3-game set. I'd have bet on LSU. Really. I mean, that when you have a team that has that loose, that approach, and then you combine it with the talent, like that's the rare part. You know, you can go get a bunch of C-level guys to say, buy in, let's go be great. Yeah, rah, 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 rah. You know, like Dylan Cruz, you in? Paul Skeens, Trey Morgan, you in? Tommy White, you buying in? And for all of them to say, yeah, man, I'm all in. Like, I'm all in on this deal. Like, I don't care.
That's what elevates a guy like Griffin Herring to have the moment where it's, that man's never been in a press conference in his life, and he's up there cracking jokes.
Obviously.
And they're like, Jesus Christ, Griffin. And he's like, I've never been here before. Like, he's not going to get in trouble for it. You know, that's how loose they were. But it's the combination, like you were talking about earlier, of the older guys and the veterans of like a Cade Beloso that just wants to win in Omaha. You see the picture of him and
Chinko. Ryan Schimpf.
Schimpf.
Yeah.
And he's
what
like,
a classic. What a
that's
classic
unbelievable. That's
unbelievable.
LSU.com of I'm going to Omaha and I'm a fan of the team. And then to fast forward to 2023 and he's winning a College World Series game.
I believe it was Blake Joubert that his dad took him to Omaha in 2017. I want to make sure I'm getting this right because the announcer was telling the story as I believe Joubert was batting and said that Joubert's dad took him to Omaha in 17 and Blake was so bummed. Braden, I'm sorry. Braden Joubert was so bummed about obviously LSU losing, and his dad told him on the way back to the hotel in Omaha that next time LSU gets here, you're going to help them win it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, bro, like that's an incredible story, right? And then for Joubert to have, you know, the tournament that he did, start scorching hot, try and find it and get out of a slump the way he did, you know, and then he gets out of it in the semifinal game or the second game of Florida. He pokes one out.
They shouldn't have given him a cookie.
And then he just gets going. He's got the most beautiful swing on the team, right?
Oh my God!
I mean, that thing looks
like white King Griffey Jr.
Looks like King Griffey Jr. I mean, like his swing is
as sweet.
It's porn.
Yes.
I mean, like it is. It doesn't even look like for his. I love Beloso's, like kind of Babe Ruth, like toothpick, just kind of
one-handed out of there,
slap it out there. Joubert's, it looks like almost like a robot. It looks like a machine holding a bat that just, if you were to put it on like swing calm, it just. Wow.
If you put him in a home run derby, he could hit 15 in a row out. Like if you put it in the spot.
The one that he's admiring the other night, I mean, like. If you threw
Don't throw it there.
If you threw him 10 of those, it feels like he hit 11 of them out.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I mean,
you can see he hit
spit on it.
Yes, he literally was smiling in the batter's box.
I mean,
he literally spit on
like,
it though,
gazing at it. I mean, he was just like,
give me a love.
It was beautiful. I mean, like his swing, it's got to be like a study. You know what I mean? It's got to be like for a lefty. Be like it never leaves a plane.
No,
like it stays perfectly plain the whole way through.
If you put it in that loop, that's what Mikey always calls. Like if you put it in the loop for him, it's going out the ballpark. Yeah, there's like a spot just because of the way his swing arcs. It's like if you put it down there, he's gonna go and get it, and it's gonna look the way porn. And I was talking with his parents last night. He's like, the one against Florida, the first one, and the 24-3. He goes, that's all he needed. He just had to feel it again. The most inconsequential home run turns out to be the biggest home run for Joe Bear to be able to get him back on plane.
That's right. That's
Wait,
exactly
did y'all see what Jay Johnson told the team, like after the game too? They didn't have a team meeting. Kay Beloso, this is from Wilson Alexander from the Advocate, but Kay Beloso says they didn't have a team meeting, and he was like, that's super like rare for us. And he said they woke up the next day. Jay Johnson walked in and said, one game, game 71 for a national championship. Are you in? And he walked out.
I mean,
That's
the
cute.
man knows his team. Like I don't even have to talk to him after the worst loss of the season. I don't even have to go in there and talk to him. Like I'm sure like Jordan and Wes Johnson and those guys are like, "Well, you're not going to talk to him? Nah.
Don't ever coach it.
Put
One
him
game,
put him on
coach.
the bus, get him home, let
Well,
him sleep."
And I'd imagine if you're Jay and you're in the dugout the entire time too, and you're just watching you're watching yourself get pummeled, and you just have to be like, all right,
Sure.
there's no
Absolutely.
like Skip says, there's no running out the clock. You know, like you have to play 9 innings, and it's a terrible feeling.
Can't
But
run
Christian
the
Little.
full- Can't run the fullback dive.
yeah, Sam Dutton. This is why you're here.
That's right.
Unfortunately, like I can't
Go
run the
chew him
fullback
up.
dive.
Go chew him up.
But
The fullback dive.
I would imagine in like the 6th or 7th inning, Jay's looking around. He's like, "Oh, dude, all my guys are like." He pulled everybody, right? Like he had all of his leaders off,
essentially.
and so he's out there and he's getting the feel of the team where they're like, "Bro, we flushed this already." So I don't have to go. There's no yelling at you at this point. What do you want me to yell? This is what he said on Mikey's show whenever Dylan Cruz was struggling. He's like, "What do you want me to do? Tell him to play better?" Like, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Right, it
He's
was
fine.
like thinking back to like the Jordan Thompson stuff. Like for people that are like, bench him.
Watch a
Like-
game.
like Jay- like
It's a
Jay
3-year
Johnson's
starter.
Like the guy played every game. There was 2 players that played every game over the last 2 years. Jay Johnson.
Last 3 years.
Jay Johnson. Yeah, well, I mean, Jay Johnson's been the coach for 2
Yeah.
years. There's 2 players that have played every day. You can extend that back for 3 years on these 2 guys as well. Dylan Cruz and Jordan Thompson. You think he's going to bench Jordan Thompson going into Game 3 of the national championship? I mean, like, the story on Thompson, like going into his hotel room on Monday morning. It's like, look, man, I mean, you're our guy. You're going. I need you to be playing your best. Is there anything that I can do to help that? Thompson just looked at him in his face and said, "Coach, I got you.
California cool.
I got you."
Coach, we good.
Dude shows up, knocks in the first ribby of the game, makes defensive plays, looks fantastic. I mean, it's just, I don't know how else we can say it. Guy's plugged in. Guy knows the squad. Guy's, big program guy. Big program guy.
Might have been the right hire.
I mean, it's, home run, man.
But that's the other thing that's so impressive about Scott Woodward. Like, obviously, the Kim Mulkey is pie in the sky, right? Everybody was looking that direction. It's like, there's no way you can get her for Baylor. Gets her. Yeah. But then when you look around for whether it be baseball with Jay Johnson, there's obviously names out there that you point to. I don't think anybody in Louisiana was saying Jay Johnson's the guy that you need to go get. And he's like, he just sits back there and he's like, I got a guy.
No, I mean,
same thing with Brian Kelly.
Like,
Like
wanted Bianco and Vitello.
Right. It was Bianco, right? It was like, well, who else would he look to? That's obviously got to get the LSU guy. Vitello was the A+. That's the guy that can win you games. He's gone to Omaha twice, and then you just look around the country and you don't hear a word, and then you look up, Jay Johnson's getting off the plane, putting a hat on. You're like, okay, let's see, and then immediately it is okay. This seems like to be the next guy for the next. That 10-year deal might be a 20-year deal,
No doubt.
and then. Brian Kelly was that a name on anybody's radar? Not for me. Like, we were looking around going, oh, go get Lane Kiffin. Go, like there's names that you can get. And he's like,
Jimbo.
no. Yeah, go get Jimbo Fisher, which I'm sure he wanted to. But to be able to go pull somebody from Notre Dame where he's like, you really think you can win there? Like, you can be you have the most all-time wins in regular season history. How about a national championship?
Was he there last night, BK?
I don't know. I think
He's working.
he's working. Yeah,
Was
I think
Kim
yeah.
there?
Look,
Mulkey?
I didn't-
No, she was not there.
She was not there. I figured they would all be there.
Kim Mulkey comes out for she was there for Game 3.
Mulkey actually
Yeah.
was, she was there for
No championship
for
touch.
Game 3. Actually, Mulkey was the first one that told me about Ryan Mallett. She was in Sandestin.
Really?
She was at
Really?
the Oceana Club.
She was there when it happened.
And she was like, and she sent me a text message of the picture and said, "Do you know him?" And I said, "Yeah, it's Ryan Mallett." And she was like, I think he is just drowned here at Sandestin.
Wow.
Do we know how that happened? I mean, it was
Riptide.
just the
Riptide. He went
It's
past
that
the
bad right
sandbar.
now?
Him and his wife went past the sandbar, and from what I was told, but I'm not. But they went past the sandbar, and like next thing you know, she was
out there with him when it
calling
happened.
out. I don't think that she was as far out as he was, and
Oh, it's a terrible feeling.
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
that's man, I mean, that story along with the Peyton Hillis story that happened in January. This is all happening on
Yeah.
the Gulf Coast.
I know.
Like, this isn't happening out in California. This isn't happening like down in the Caribbean. This is happening within 2 hours of our front door. I mean, Orange Beach, Pensacola Beach, Fort Walton Beach, Destin Beach, Sandestin Beach, all down that. I mean, where we all.
Something doesn't want us in the water down there.
There's been 10 people that have drowned since January in that part of
I'm not getting in
the
that.
world.
I mean, I'm done with the water.
I'm
Yeah.
just telling you, man. I mean, we've all been there 100 times.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Ryan Mallett is a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is he a world-class athlete, he's a big human being.
Yes.
Monster of a
I
man.
mean, like, that's a big dude that is being defeated like that. I mean, Peyton Hillis nearly died. I mean, that is a world-class athlete out there trying to fight those conditions, and it's just scary to think about, man, what is happening. I know that it's all blamed on Riptide and what's going on, but just be careful out. I mean, this is probably the biggest travel weekend to that part of the
Yeah, you're right.
to that
July
part
4th.
of the country as any, especially for our people, the people that are close to us around
Yeah.
here. I mean, that's a huge vacation spot. So if you're heading down there, if you are there, obviously you've read and know about this, but please just be careful, man. I mean, I don't know what the conditions were. I don't know what was going on with the flags or anything from that nature. I just know that Ryan Mallett was in the Gulf Coast and has drowned, which is very, very sad, and for the Arkansas family, his immediate family, and the SEC obviously. Mallett was, man, he was a player. I mean, that 2010 season he had with Arkansas, where he was good. Obviously, he was drafted by the New England Patriots, and Tom Brady was tweeting out, Bill Belichick was tweeting out. I mean, it was just sad to see. So if you're down there, please be careful, man. It's just scary to see. I mean, Lil Jay and I were talking about it yesterday. I mean, we were talking about when we're going to get to the beach this summer, and we saw the story, and just, man, it just made the whole mood somber and thinking about going down there. I mean, it's such a great place and such a cool time, and I mean, they got the best beaches, and the water's clear, and it's just a beautiful place to get away. It's easy, and to see what's going on from just vacationers has been very, very sad and, man, alarming. So be careful out there. 8 o'clock hour rolling on. We'll be back. Hour 2 coming at you. Remember, Daily, we're built by R&B Builders. Hey, if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscription button if you don't mind. We were looking at some of the analytics, and it's crazy to see the daily viewers that get in here that are not subscribed to the channel. We love everybody here. We appreciate everybody being here.
Maybe the like button.
We love the audience being out there. But if you're not a subscriber and you like the content, you're looking for some LSU heavy or some Louisiana heavy content, sports content, give us a subscription, as the Jordy Culotta Show airs Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. We're here every day throughout the week. So we appreciate you being here. Hit that like button, share button, comment button, subscribe if you have not subscribed. If you want to keep up with all of the content that's coming out. All you have to do is hit that bell after you subscribe, and you'll get alerts when we go live. So second hour coming at you with more reaction to LSU baseball. We will talk a little bit more about LSU football. Huge recruit on campus yesterday for LSU, and things seem to be trending in the right direction for the Tigers for the local standout. We'll tell you who and where recruiting is next when we come back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by RMB Builders. RMB Builders, of course, bringing you our daily show. And daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Remember, Katie's located down on Iberville Street in New Orleans. You can get down there and check out some of the tastes of the city, as well as St. Louis-style pizza that you can pick up, the coldest beer in town. Get in touch with our friends over at Katie's. Katie'sInMidCity.com is where they are located. Katie'sInMidCity.com is where they're located online. So hit them there, and don't forget about Francesca's, which is a sister restaurant to Katie's, and they are located over in Lakeview. Great little sandwich deli. Check them out online. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com. All right, this NIL stuff is about to get a little interesting here, as this past Saturday. Or this Saturday coming up is going to mark the 2-year anniversary of the NIL era within college sports. And as of year 2, there is still no governing body that is overseeing name, image, and likeness. So this has caused each state to really become the enforcer and kind of the authorization on NIL. Obviously, Greg Sankey hates that. Obviously, other states that are not as progressive and up to speed as states like Texas, Missouri are very much barking about this. But the NCAA today has put out some guidelines for NIL that is going to really start to cloud some things up here, because obviously they have not had any say-so in what NIL looks like, what it feels like, how it's going to be governed, how it's going to be punished, what's the rules, the regulations of it. So as they try to put out some criteria of what it is going to mean to stay within those procedures, it's going to be very cloudy, right? Because the states have been running this authorization now for 2 years. The NCAA has said really out loud that they want nothing to do with it. Now they're trying to flirt and kind of get into the game a little bit, and they don't have this authority. They don't have seemingly the power that they once did to really make this stick. So this is about to be, here is where I believe the solution is going to come, right? Like, it's now going to get to a point where you've got two runaway freight trains and they're headed down the track at one another, and at some point they are just going to crash. And it's going to be nothing but twisted metal and track for as long as the eye can see to clean up, if they don't get out in front of this right now. And hopefully this is really the kickoff, the jump-off point of getting real and making something happen, right, about NIL. Because if the states are going to be writing the law to how NIL is going to function, and the NCAA for the first 2 years of name, image, and likeness is saying we don't want any part of it, but then on a whim on the 2-year anniversary says, here's a couple of bullet points that you need to stick to on NIL, and if you don't, you're breaking the rules. It's going to be a Jerry Springer show. I mean, it's going to be chairs being thrown. It's going to be fights and people rolling on the floor. It's going to be people yelling and screaming, and maybe that has to happen. But if both sides are trying to, and when I say both sides, I mean the states, which have a huge advantage on it right now because they are way far out into the lead and have been doing this now for 2 years, is going to start getting pushback from the NCAA on what the guidelines and how to enforce rules around NIL is, but they're not the governing authority of it. It's just, you think it's bad now. Really. And for LSU, it's not bad. It's awesome.
Yeah, keep it the way it is.
Because LSU is cleaning up in the transfer portal era.
Well, they just made a new structure for the transfer portal, too, from 60 days to 30 days. They just enforced that.
They shortened the portal?
They shortened the window, yeah.
I mean,
do y'all think it matters?
For the window in the portal, like, is that the only time you're supposed to be able to allow to contact them, or is that the only time you can make a commitment?
That's the only time you could go to a school.
Yeah, so, but they're getting contacted throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. But if you miss the window, you don't have anywhere to go, and you get stuck in the portal.
Yeah.
Which is like
purgatory.
It's like the multiverse.
Yeah, I don't know where to go.
I might come out in Earth.
Well, I mean,
196.
There's going to be a 30 for 30. There's going to be a documentary. There's going to be a story about the amount of players that enter the portal that end up not playing at all, that totally lose their spot. You know, I mean, look, it's easy to talk about, you know, guys in the portal like Paul Skeens and Tommy White. I mean, they can play for anybody in the country. But for people that are inside of a program and players that are inside of a program that feel like they need more playing time, but they haven't yet proven that they deserve that that playing time and they decide, I'm going to the portal and I'm going somewhere else, and the next thing you know, your phone doesn't ring and nobody's texting and nobody really cares that your name hit because they don't know who you are. And they've already got their own roster built. They've already got their own targets in mind. And next thing you know, you're sitting in a pool of transfer portal targets with nowhere to go and nowhere to go back to, right? I mean, they've seen a lot of these schools, when you put in your portal request, it's over for you. And I was listening to a podcast with Shane Beamer, South Carolina head football coach. And he was affected by the transfer portal, somebody that has been affected by the transfer portal the past couple of years. Jordan Birch, his big defensive end, former 5-star number 1 recruit in the country, finalist was LSU, South Carolina, ended up staying at home and going to South Carolina, jumped into the transfer portal, and he was telling the story on this podcast that when, his best player ultimately came into his office and said, I'm thinking about leaving and putting my name into the portal, he said, well, when you do, you're done with us. Like, whether you're the best player or you're not the best player, soon as you go into the transfer portal, we're not dealing with you anymore. And I mean, that's a tough strategy to stand by.
Well, yeah, it's like when if you have a kid and he packs up and says, I'm running away from home, and they get about 55 feet from the door, and they're like, wait, what am I doing? Like they go to the tree house. And it's like, all right, I'm ready for dinner. It's like, no, dude, you ran away.
My PlayStation's in there, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what Shane Bieber's essentially doing. Like, if you put 2 feet out that door, I'm closing it behind you. Yeah. And you're making a decision. And I mean, how many times did you run away from home and come back and be like, sorry? And it's like, no, dude, you can't live here anymore. Like, oh shit, that was real? Like, yeah, you made a decision.
So
good luck.
The NCAA
office. Go to the neighbor's house.
And I'm taking this from CBS Sports. The NCAA office sent a memo to member institutions on Tuesday in which the organization clarified its NIL policy, according to multiple reports. The updated explanation urges schools to follow NIL rules set forth by the NCAA in lieu of lenient guidelines recently passed by several state legislatures across the country. So far, 32 states have adopted their own versions of NIL regulation for public institutions, with many containing language that bars the NCAA from enforcing its own NIL policy. The NCAA's memo states that since membership in the organization is voluntary, state laws are irrelevant when they conflict with membership guidelines. So the NCAA is laying it out there in their memo yesterday. They're saying just what we said 3 minutes ago. The day's coming. The day of reckoning is coming. And if you want to abide by your state laws, well, you're a volunteer member of our organization, and we have the power to disqualify you if we want to. And internally, I got to believe the NCAA's got to be having some real conversations of, if we disqualify one, what if our phone blows up and we get 120 phone calls in succession that says, we're out too? That's got to be real, right? Additionally, the memo reiterates that boosters may not have direct contact with recruits during the recruiting process to discuss potential NIL opportunities as a recruiting inducement. The NCAA, this is how antiquated and old and dumb they are. They think that statement actually is going to mean something. That business has been operating this way for 40, 50 years. And over the last 2 years, it's been legal to operate like this, and they think they can show up on some random Tuesday in June and tell you, no, you can't do that. And everybody's going to say, oh, shit, let me put my hands back in my pocket. Let me quit cutting the checks. You think Gordon McKernan has any fear of the NCAA? And not saying that Gordon wants to fight the NCAA and that he wants to go toe-to-toe with them, because I don't believe that he does. But I also would believe that if the NCAA knocked on his door and told him to stop, he'd say, no, I'm not. Because the state law tells me I'm abiding by it. And you've got nothing but a couple of bullet points on a Word document telling me what I can and can't do. The association has been clear and maintains that schools must adhere to NCAA legislation or policy when it conflicts with permissive state laws. In other words, if a state law permits certain institutional action and NCAA legislation prohibits the same action, institutions must follow NCAA legislation. Good luck, NCAA. Texas A&M is a school that, beginning on July 1st, Texas House Bill 2804, which will go into effect on July 1st, prevents the NCAA from levying punishment against A&M for breaking NIL rules. Without question, NCAA enforcement of rules against Texas A&M's collective would trigger lawsuits. Texas A&M is not the only school benefiting from the gray area. University of Miami has a huge booster in John Ruiz. Ruiz has made some news already, right, by the way that he recruited a couple of athletes to the University of Miami.
He got slapped on the wrist.
Rather than attempt to target NIL deals, the NCAA popped Ruiz and Miami on a technicality, handing down a fine and probation to the women's basketball team because an assistant coach helped connect the twins, the Haley and Hannah Cavender twins, to Ruiz through recruiting. The NCAA punished the Cavender twins for a couple of games last season. This is about to be a mess. A lot bigger mess than it already is. And it's a shit show right now. Nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody knows how they're supposed to be playing. Everybody's kind of regulating themselves. People are kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Each state is working alone on this stuff. And the NCAA really has the audacity to show up to the party 2 years late, drop a memo down on the desk and say, everybody stand in line.
What's been going on here? I left the house for 2 years. Oh, your friends live here now?
This, in my opinion, is the opening day to the death march of the NCAA. This is the first day in a death march to the organization. The way that the NCAA operates will be vastly different when this fight is over. They've called down the fight. They want the fight. They're about to get the fight because they're about to be sued by organizations, states,
18 other states,
programs that can go toe-to-toe with them in legal finances. You're not just going to go into discovery mode on this lawsuit where you're just going to drown them in paperwork and drown them in money where they're going to tap out and say, we can't afford it anymore. They finally have somebody in the other corner that says, you want to fight? Let's fight. And let's see. And if the NCAA has to open anything up, get on any type of stand, get on any type of witness stand, give any type of testimony, did you see the way Mark Emmert was laughed out of the Supreme Court? Literally. He was chased out of the Supreme Court. One of the Supreme Court justices told Mark Emmert to his face, this is legal nowhere. Nowhere is this legal. So if they get into a court of law and they have an opponent that says, we'll fight you as long as the fight lasts, the day will finally come where, you can burn it down. And that's what feels like it needs to happen, or a total overhaul, a total change in business practices and how it's operated needs to come from this. Because you're hearing power players in the sport, it's Nick Saban, Brian Kelly, athletic directors all over the country, people that we all respect within the sports, right? Within the sport, within college sports, saying that this is unsustainable, cannot last, will not make it. And I think finally you're starting to see some action come from it. You know, somebody that's going to step up and say, all right, well, look, this is, if that's going to be your, if the NCAA wants to reply by saying, no, here's our guidelines that you have to follow. Well, okay. All right. If that's how you want to play, then see you in court.
You could almost take it a step farther. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Saudis and PIF. Would the NCAA not be like, that's our ticket out? Well, that's the money.
I think that the PGA is opened up to
American soil.
Absolutely. And I mean, if the Saudis obviously have alternative motives here, right? I mean, like
sports washing.
They want to wash their cash and they want to infiltrate America. Where is America more vulnerable and more
easy to access?
Just
the sluttiest of the group.
Lose sight of yourself
college football.
Than in sports, and specifically college football. And $1 billion to them is $100 to us. I mean, they spend money and have more money than
God.
Then they know what to do with.
And wouldn't it be cheaper for them to do it on American college football than with Formula One and
right.
golf
absolutely.
And soccer, European soccer? Yes.
The NBA is in trouble right now.
Yeah.
The NBA is in huge financial trouble right now.
Calling the Saudis.
They are bleeding cash. They are laying off people at a rapid rate. Their international business model has collapsed because of what happened in China.
Mm-hmm.
They were making billions of dollars annually off of their China partnership. That went up in flames a couple of years ago. Since then, they have not been able to recover financially.
Right.
Adam Silver's job is to keep the NBA financially solid and competitive.
Mm-hmm.
He's at a moment where he is getting to desperate. The Saudis have to be thinking, give him another month.
Have to.
Give him another 3 months.
There's a lifeline out there.
Mm-hmm.
Call the PGA commissioner.
Where's he
who
been?
the day after he signed his deal became deathly ill. Hadn't heard from him since. It's
weird.
It's a weird time, man.
It is.
It's a crazy time.
It is.
I mean, September 11th, 2001.
People won't forget.
By September of 2023, the Saudis will own the PGA Tour.
Stop.
20 years later.
That gives me I have chills.
You're in bed with them. You're in your sports. Your sports entities. Your sports.
What are we doing?
Leagues are in bed with them.
Who's going to be the first school to say yes to them?
Well, I don't think it'll be schools. I don't think it'll be schools. It's the NCAA.
You think it's going to be everybody?
Yeah, it's going to be. I think the NBA is real.
Mm-hmm.
I think they see the NBA as a vulnerable product.
That would happen first, I guess.
Yeah, the NFL, it won't happen. They prohibit foreign ownership, but I mean, that's an easy thing to, you just have one guy, the bag man. But that's their saving grace. The NFL
minority ownership.
Exactly.
They'll give them
1%.
Yeah.
Or you just give it to somebody else who wants to wear that black hat and walk into the building and be like, I have $500 billion. Oh.
Okay.
Shark Tank. But the NBA is real. And for college football, there's an article in The Athletic that was written today about this.
I'm reading it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's saying if a booster could provide $10 million, what is the Saudis going to provide?
I mean, really?
Yeah, put an extra zero on there.
Oh, my God.
Own your little poverty program.
Yeah, exactly.
You think Texas A&M has money? Here's money. But before we get there, shout out to Texas A&M. The first good thing they've ever done. It's like, oh, here's your memo, here's my memo. Like, you don't exist to me. Like, it's a he said, she said.
You aren't real.
Yeah.
Texas A&M
wrote it into law. You don't exist.
Texas A&M's the heavyweight they don't want to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, because they got more money than they know what to do with. And they would love to be the school that put the NCAA out of business.
NCAA ain't a real place.
Yeah. Gig them. Y'all would come to Yale practice? The NCAA.
Yale practice.
They can take away our NIL.
I got your NCAA right here.
But there's not
Chris Blair tomorrow.
There's not a college football program that is like facing that kind of threat right now, though, right? Like the NBA is.
You'd be surprised how many college football programs operate in the red.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, but now with NIL, like.
Well, that's even more of the red.
That doesn't put them in the green. That puts them in the red
it
more.
would be the conference television agreements that would put them in the black. But there's a lot of programs that exist in the red.
But I mean, enough to.
I mean, like see all these people that are desperate trying to hop into the Big Ten and hop into the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're saying, I mean, even Oregon's flirting. You know, Oregon's not operating in the. You know, they're always going to be, but they're looking at it like, hey, we need to get over there. You know, like if you see at USC and UCLA, I mean, the West Coast loses them. I mean, who else is left besides Oregon and Arizona State is a brand maybe? Washington? I mean, like, who? Stanford? No.
I mean, I
mean, nothing.
If I'm just a casual college football fan, I don't want Stanford in my conference.
You know, I mean, like, I really think that behind closed doors, Greg Sankey's got to be thinking, like, he's got an opportunity to either become the czar of, like, college sports or the czar of college football. And I think that college football could exist by itself, and then there's another business model that exists for the other sports, because it's just not the monster that college football is. But ultimately, I think you need you need a Goodell, you need a commissioner, you need somebody that's just going to be the face of the sport, that has a governing body, whether it be a board of directors or some type of group that oversees the sport, and get rid of the NCAA. I mean, people got to be laughing at this memo. I mean, like, are you still alive? Are these people still out there?
Well, then I think that's what, I mean, Burgess brings up a good point in the chat. Like, what point do the major, like the heavy hitters of college, I mean, you can say just college football, just break away from the NCAA and form their own organization where you have.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I believe. Sankey, like, behind closed doors, has got to be like talking to the power players.
Talk to Goodell.
Like all of them are just like the other league commissioners and being like, look, I'll run it. You're the board.
It's an exclusive club.
Right. I mean, like,
what changes? It's always going to be the power players that play.
Well, and they have all the leverage.
Right.
I mean, the eyeballs are going where the game is.
And the NCAA doesn't own the CFP.
Where's the sport at? Where's the game being played? That's where the people are going to show up. That's where they're going to buy the tickets. That's where we're going to watch them on television. Whoever owns that product, you have the power. If I'm the SEC commissioner, you're the big dog on the block. You got the biggest product out there. This is what everybody wants. But it's all out of whack. And he knows it. I mean, you hear him talk. He's concerned. You can hear it in his, I mean, he's not hiding his statements, nor is he hiding his emotion when he talks about it. He's like, this is real. And when you got people like Saban and Kelly out there pushing the message, you know he's telling, like, he needs his top lieutenants, like, hey,
everybody, we're trying
don't
to
get off of this message. Like,
if
you get a microphone, make sure you let people know this is not sustainable and it has to change. I just, man, it's a scary time right now for everything. I mean, really, I mean, shit, everything. But sports in general, I mean, throw your sports in there now. It's crazy, man.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
Blood money.
We talked about a little bit of recruiting before we get out of here. A little bit of recruiting news. I don't know if anybody saw this, but a big on-campus visitor for LSU that is right there from Baton Rouge, and that is Keelan Moses, who is I would call him the top junior in the state, right? I mean, he's got to be the top.
I'd probably say if he's not the top junior in the country, he's top 10.
Absolutely. But Keelan Moses, who is an athlete, was in town, and he's been making the tours here. If you're keeping up with his social media, I believe he was at Florida earlier this week. He's been to Alabama, and then yesterday he was at LSU. and he was doing the photo shoot. He had the gear on, and there is a lot of people close to this situation that says LSU is trending as the school to beat, and it might pop a little early, and that Moses just may shut it down and pledge to the Tigers. Now, look, he's got an older brother that was committed to LSU for more than 2.5 years that switched that commitment to Alabama. So everybody is a little nervous, with that situation. What you have to remember is that Frank Wilson was the one who got Dylan Moses' commitment. He's the one that took that commitment in 8th grade. He's the one that looked at Les Miles and said, that's the one we need to get over there. When he was walking Miles to the junior field, when I say like the junior, like the youth camp, there was a high school camp and a youth camp that was happening on LSU's facility at the same time. And Frank Wilson said, that's the one we need to get. Miles' dumb ass is looking across the practice field like, which one?
What are you talking about?
Which one?
Where's my
Your
wife?
finger in his ear.
Toss dive?
Huh? Which one? Come walk with me over here. Hat. This way.
Hat.
So he takes him over here. He's like, what are we doing at the 7th and 8th grade field? He's like, well, yeah, that's the guy. That's the one we need to get right there. So they walk up to Dylan Moses, talk to his dad, do the whole thing. Moses is enamored, loves LSU, tells Frank Wilson, I'm not going anywhere else. When Moses is going into his senior season at IMG Academy, Frank Wilson takes the Texas San Antonio job. By that time, the relationship had deteriorated within LSU. Nick Saban had saw his opening. He makes his move, recruits him. The Bama booster cuts the check. Next thing you know, Moses is at Alabama. Now, Moses' time at Alabama was as you would expect it to be when he got to college. He was a first-year guy that chipped in and played a lot. His sophomore season, he was maybe the best linebacker in college football. He was a finalist for the Butkus Award, and he was an absolute dog. Two knee injuries later, he goes undrafted after playing and staying at Alabama for 4 years, and now back in Baton Rouge with a whole lot of perspective. Great dude. But a lot of perspective on recruiting and what it means to play at home. And remember LSU's pitch, especially from Frank Wilson. It's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. Right? When you make that choice, it's not just about the next 4 years. You got to think about the next 40. And that's a tough message to crack across a 17-year-old who's got the world in his palm. Can go anywhere he wants, can do anything he wants, can hang out with anybody he wants, can do just about whatever he wants at 17 years old. That's a tough perspective to gain when you're in that world. When you're ice packing your knee at 25 years old because you're chasing around your daughter and just trying to keep up with her, and you get back to your Baton Rouge house and you think, that 40-year decision would have probably worked out a lot better if I would have played for LSU, and I'm at home now. And I'm not saying that Moses regrets going to Alabama by any means, but I know he put his life on the line for Alabama football, and there's not a lot to show for it right now. And his brother sees that. And there's still a undying love from his family, and I would even say his brother, for LSU. And Keelan's perspective on LSU is a little different than Dylan's was because of that vantage point. And Frank Wilson's back. I mean, more than anything. I mean, I can give you the story and all the details and all that stuff, but at the end of it, Frank Wilson's back and he ain't going anywhere. And he's not going to miss two of them. I promise you. He didn't miss Dylan, but he's going to make sure that this one gets on campus. I mean, and look, I agree with Jason Brumfield. Not really upset with the outcome of Devin White coming here. What would Devin White look like playing next to Dylan Moses? I mean, would you have told Dylan Moses and Devin White no? Get them both.
Should have got all three.
Who was the third? Jacob Phillips?
Patrick Queen.
Was it Patrick Queen?
No, I'm talking about who's the other cat that went to
Christian Harris.
Christian Harris.
Yeah, Christian Harris. I mean, Christian Harris was that was dumb.
LSU just didn't offer him.
That was dumb. Well, they offered it. They didn't offer him because he didn't work out. I mean,
talk to his daddy.
See you in the pads.
Tim Williams.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think the days of LSU losing 5 stars out of university high school to other SEC schools, I'm not going to say they're gone, but it's a lot tougher for you to break the state line right now. For as much as we've talked about for years, protecting the border, build the wall, keep them out, get the state, protect the state. Everybody who has said that, from Les Miles to Ed Ogeron, now to Brian Kelly, Kelly's doing it better than anybody has. He's built a feeling of, if you come in here, you'll be lucky. I think he's going to get all 10 of the top 10 players from the state this season. It's, for as plentiful and as healthy as Louisiana is from a recruiting standpoint, that's pretty rare to happen. I mean, I'm not saying that they miss the majority of the top 10, but every year there's 1 or 2 that goes to, Florida State, Oklahoma, Texas, Derek Williams last year. I mean, you look at the top 10 in the state this year, it looks like LSU's going to go 10 for 10.
Oh, don't say those kind of things. 5 for 5?
Just they're trending in the direction to do that. I mean, they might not do it, but whoever does come in here and get somebody is going to have to earn it. Like, I mean, you got a hell of a fight on your hands. And it's not just Frank Wilson you got to go through. Frank's got a team now that is, I mean, people like Sherman Wilson.
Arsenal.
People like, Jordan Arsenal. People that are kind of built in to make sure that the wall stays guarded are really good at their job.
Sloan.
Yeah, Joe Sloan, all of them, man. Look out for Keelan Moses, though. He may have some information and some news coming here shortly.
It's wild.
And if you have not seen him play, I mean,
athlete,
dude's the Terminator. I mean,
found him a role.
Stewie, what game was it? Was that Woodlawn? Did you go to the Woodlawn game with me? Week 2? Out there at East Iberville when we caught the screen pass and went 80 on the first drive of the game. I mean,
I remember Woodlawn the year before when he was a freshman.
Woodlawn has players.
Yeah.
You high. I mean, Jaden Alsbury was on that field. Keelan Moses was the best player on the field, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. I mean, he was the biggest, strongest, fastest, most intimidating football player on that field. He had kids running away from him. I mean, like falling down in front of him. 5A high school football players it's a sophomore. I called every single snap his brother took at U-High. From his freshman season to his junior season, we were doing the radio for U-High. And he was a stud. He was as advertised. And I was very, very cynical going in on him. I wanted to break him down. For somebody to be called the number 1 player in the country as an 8th grader in high school football to me was ludicrous. By the time he was a sophomore, he was a top 10 player in the country. By the time he left U-High his junior season, he was a top 5 player at his position. When he left IMG, he was as advertised. His sophomore year at Alabama, he was the best linebacker in the country. His brother's better than him, and I mean that with no disrespect. His brother's faster than him. His brother's bigger than him. His brother is freaking.
I don't know if he's bigger,
bro.
Still got a year.
He's bigger than what he was a sophomore. I mean,
I don't know.
Dylan was a freak.
Yeah, he was big.
Coach, did you see him walk in the studio?
Yeah, I know he's like.
I mean,
he
like,
might be like.
and again, I'm not discrediting Dylan at all.
No, but I'm saying Dylan was probably like 220 in 8th grade. This kid might be he's like 210. He's a little more
taller.
lean.
Yeah.
He's leaner than
different
Dylan.
kind of athlete.
Athletic
Yeah.
build. He's so much. The part that's freakishly about it is that he's a better athlete than him. Like. They would when they put Dylan Moses at running back in high school, it was just turn and hand it to him. That's all it was. And the first guy couldn't tackle him. He'd run through the second guy, and he'd guarantee you 5 to 6 yards, or he'd bust
it for 80.
Yeah. I mean, Keelan, you can throw it to him. You can. I mean, he can
flip it to him.
In the plays he makes on defense, I'm telling you, he's a different type of athlete, man. I think he was the best athlete in the state last year. Really, as a sophomore. If he was not the best, he was a top 5 athlete in the state, top 3 athlete in the state. State was loaded last year. Loaded. Still loaded this year.
You could go him or probably Juwan Johnson.
Juwan Johnson. I mean, the Wardell Mack kid down in Eric's a really good athlete.
Joel Rogers.
But I mean, turn the film on. I mean, Coach.
And there's another one in the pipeline.
Turn the film. This one looks like the one, though. I mean,
the littlest brother.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
I mean, his hands are up to my elbow. He's 10.
Maybe 12.
12.
Middle school.
Did you see
Chad Jones?
No. Anthony Richardson's little brother? His voice sounds like it's the most baritone thing I've ever heard in my life. He's 13. He sounded like a 35-year-old man.
He's a player.
I'd imagine. But, I mean, he sounded like Barry.
All right. Appreciate everybody's interaction today. Make sure to hit that Rick Barry?
The singer.
I'm trying to name the singer. Barry White.
Barry White.
Rick Barry, the basketball player. Dude shot granny shots for foul shots.
It sounds like him. Is that Frank Cicero?
All right, hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Compliments of RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com online.
Rick Barry?
Rick Barry.
Oh, my God. RMB Builders, thank you.